Johnson & Johnson headed back to court this week to fight another lawsuit from a woman who developed cancer after years of using Johnson & Johnson baby powder. This story just continues getting crazier. The last verdict that was taking place was in New Jersey.
I believe so, yes.
And they come back with a multi-million-dollar verdict against Johnson & Johnson. The interesting thing about it is Johnson & Johnson has lied and told the American public, we don't have asbestos in our baby powder. And now the lawyers that are trying these cases, not only are they showing the jury, here's the asbestos fiber. You know, they do this, they bring in scientists, they do a scope the material, and they're able to show the asbestos fiber right there. Amosite, chrysotile asbestos, it's right there. And so years and years, the company's been saying, oh, you don't have to worry about asbestos. Now women are dying from cervical cancer because they use this Johnson & Johnson baby powder their entire lifetime. And they're dying from mesothelioma.
Right, and this woman in this particular lawsuit that began on Monday of this week, she died from very rare form of cancer, they said, at age 30.
Yeah.
You know, cancers that usually take
mesothelioma takes 34 years.
Yeah. But she had used baby powder all her life, so she's dead at age 30 because of Johnson & Johnson. And what's interesting about this case too, and at first I didn't agree with it, but the more I remembered about this case, because you and I have spoken about this. We've seen the documents.
You wrote an article.
But they brought in, another one of the defendants is Rite Aid, the pharmacy.
Right.
And so at first I thought, well, you can't necessarily hold them accountable for it. But then I remembered the marketing materials. Johnson & Johnson worked with the pharmacies to create these big display ads. The pharmacies were complicit with it to make sure that they push this talcum powder, especially in low-income communities. They would go to areas with higher populations of African American and Hispanic women and market it to them.
That's their major marketing source. It's a cultural issue. A lot of these children grow up with a parent putting baby powder all over them, and they're told, well, you got to do this all your life. This will make you smell better, and this is good hygiene. And they're told there's no harm in that. And the whole time that they were doing that with Johnson & Johnson talc powder, it had asbestos in it. I mean, look, where do they get the talc? They get it out of mines. They've looked at the mines where they get the talc. There's asbestos all over the talc mines. And so all of a sudden, you know, it's another deal where Johnson & Johnson keeps telling this lie. They've been hit for $78 million, $75 million, $117 million.
Right. What has it been? 5 verdicts so far and hundreds of millions in total that they've paid out because they have lost every single case because they're lying?
And what tells you that is those are different juries, you see. Those are different juries that hear the facts. They see the documents.
They see the fibers.
They see the fiber. There it is right on the micrograph.
Because, that's another thing people have to understand. They are literally taking the fibers out of these cancer tumors.
Yes.
And they can,
here's
examine it and say this.
They found it in the tumor.
Right. It stays in there.
Yes. And they also find it actually in the powder. Well, I got to tell you, it's we're used to that. We're used to these denials that we see from these companies all the time, but it always ends badly. This is a big problem for Johnson & Johnson. Better figure out how to deal with this because their stock is going to start crashing. Case being tried in South Carolina right now. If he comes back with another one, and then a friend of mine's trying another one down in East St. Louis, I think in June or July, this just snowballs. The problem is you got defense firms that are telling them, oh, we can win. Yeah. Well, the defense firms are being paid a gazillion. These defense firms, no exaggeration, are being paid $7 to $10 million every time they go to trial. So they don't have any reason to tell Johnson & Johnson, you got a runaway train here, buddy. You better deal with this. Because they're silk stocking law firms, they're in towers, 50, 60-story towers that they own, filled up with, uptight, right-wing, silk-stocking corporate defense firms. And so they're telling the company, we think we can win. Well, I think the votes are in right now.